again, thank you so much for agreeing to this, and welcome to Animated Times. My name is
Absolutely. Thanks
Vasu.
for having me.
Yeah, my name is Vasu, and so okay. My first question, because I usually get that a lot. That is it Vasu? Is it Vasu? Is it what is it? So, how do you pronounce your name? Is it Iron? If I'm not wrong,
Yeah, so it's Ireon is how you pronounce my
Ireon. Okay.
full name. Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that something is silent in your name, so maybe.
No,
But
it's
now it's
it's
all clear.
actually it looks really complicated, but it's super phonetic. I think my mom tried to give me something easy and it went the other way.
Lovely. Okay, I'll straight away begin with the questions. Okay, a lot of people, like even us in India, we don't have the CW network. Sadly, most of the
Mhm.
shows are broadcasted on different platforms, and now as I've heard that even CW has an app now. Yeah, streaming app. Yeah, sadly we don't have that. We don't even have HBO Max. So so what basically no okay so what these countries do is they partner up with Netflix and all the platforms which are already there to air
Mhm.
those shows. But for like many of our viewers who are there in the Middle East and India, my first question to you is, tell us something about the show for 4400. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that
So
something about the show, what's the plot, because I know the plot but they don't.
yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, sure.
this one goes for the fans out there. Yeah.
Yeah, for the fans out there.
Yeah.
So 4400 is about 4,400 people who suddenly appear in on Belle Isle in Detroit. And they are all from different points in time. They are looking the exact same as they did from when they disappeared. And as far as they remember, they were just in that last place. Except now, of course, you're not in the 1920s anymore, and you aren't in the 1980s anymore. And it's not someone disappeared, as early as 2015, 2020. So you come back to this one point in time, exactly who you are and how you are, and they have no clue why that has happened or where they have been. And that's where my character steps in. Keisha Taylor teams up with Jarrell Mateo, and we are part of the big team that the government has put together to figure out where these people have come from and why they're here now and sort of
And
what's
all
going
of
on.
this, if I'm not wrong, all of this is happening in Detroit, right?
Yes. Everyone returns to Detroit, even though not everyone is from Detroit. Everyone that
Okay,
was
okay.
taken and returned, as we say, are from
Reminds
all
me
over the.
because like we're basically a portal which talks a lot about Marvel, DC, and anime, right? So
Yeah.
it reminds me of the blip which happened in the Infinity War, right? And then people
Mm-hmm.
started appearing. So anyway, not drawing a comparison, but it's very nice storyline, if I would say. Lot of I think undertones, because as I read, because obviously I did my homework. These people were like marginalized people, right? Like poor people, and
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us something about that. Like basically, such people suddenly coming into this world, and like, what was the impact? Like,
Yeah, so that's something that's actually really different and emphasized from the original show, because this is a reboot from a show that was
yeah,
airing in the early
2004,
2000s. I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
2004.
2004. And so this time around, I think the showrunners in the writers' room really wanted to focus on what would happen if the people who we already deem in this country as alien and unwanted, and the people who we already are right in front of us but could very well already be missing. They are not checked for and not looked out for in our society. What happens when they vanish and then suddenly all return? And what does it look like when you start to put the pieces together of, okay, sure, 4,400, that's the big mystery. 4,400 people are here out of nowhere. What's that about? But then when you look at who they all are and, the pieces that
And
they all possess,
these people haven't aged, right? They haven't
they
aged at
haven't
all.
aged a day. They haven't aged a day. As far as they're concerned, it is still, exactly when they last were. So I think the show starts to, put a spotlight on marginalized groups and the powers that they must then harness and put together as a collective to sort of, make a statement to the country of like, we are here, we are not vanished, we are not missing, and we have these powers. And that's on a spiritual realm, but that's also very, very literally, they come back and they have these like bio upgrades. It's really awesome to sort of get to see marginalized people in science fiction in that way.
Of course. And you play a parole officer in the series, right?
I
So
do.
yeah, tell us something about your character.
Yeah, so Keisha is really, hard by the book parole officer. She knows that law forward and backward and is
That is
giving
so
these people.
unlike you. I mean,
It is very.
like this is a sweet person to me.
You got it so quickly. Yeah, it's so unlike me. I remember that's one of the
Yes.
first things I thought
I'm so happy. Yes.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. But as I was auditioning, I remember, my agent sent it to me, and they were like, "Oh, like a hardened parole officer," and I was like, okay, like let's do it. But yeah, but she has reasons for this, right? Just
she also has a personal past tragedy, if I'm not wrong.
I'm sorry.
She also has a personal past tragedy, if I'm not wrong.
She's a person of strategy.
Yeah.
Yes. She really, she wants to take in all of the information and then make decisions based off of that. She is not leading with her feelings. And it's because she, comes from a past where the justice system, she feels, had let her down. Her sister was, murdered by someone, and she, after that moment and seeing what she could do to make sure that this doesn't happen again, she decided to go into the justice system and really, give it to the people and really do a good job as a parole officer to make sure that, bad, quote unquote, bad people and people who could do harm to the public were off of the streets. So that's where she's coming from. And then, as you can imagine, logic can't completely lead you through like a case such as 4,400 missing persons turning back up on your doorstep.
A lot of people will also confuse that if this is a direct reboot of the 2004 to 2007 series that aired, or is it a bit different than the earlier one?
It's definitely different. I think it's very different. I watched the original actually, and loved it. And that one follows, I think, like every episode you get a new person with a new power and you get to like dig into their story that way. And I think this series gives you this group of people that you will be with for the season. And of course, there's the world around us. It's not just so monovision. But you get to dig into these people and their real stories and their histories and go back in time with them and see where they come from, and figure out how that is impacting the present. And that's just so fun to keep up with. I've been rewatching it actually recently. And it's fun to like tie all the pieces together as you keep going on.
Is that something you do to prepare yourself better for the role or something? Like, did you watch the series that aired earlier to prepare yourself for the role?
Yes, I did. That was a big part of my preparation, because, another similarity with the reboot, with the original, is that some of the characters you can sort of draw a direct link. And my character, Keisha Taylor, of course, not as herself, definitely exists in the original. So I wanted to go back and see, what does this world look like and how does that need to continue to live in our version, but also what things are changing and how can we make sure that is capital when we present it to people.
And don't you think like this is like somewhat a representation of what's actually happening in the society right now?
Oh,
I mean, apart from the fact that 4,400 people are not appearing from anywhere, but the 7 billion which are there are causing enough problems themselves. So well.
Yeah, no, I think it absolutely has a lot to go on. With what's happening right now. There's the word alien in terms of a person is thrown around so loosely now, and in terms of who is foreign, who should be here, who shouldn't be here, and even in terms of like the superpowers, like that's a science fiction-y, kind of addition to the show, but I think that exists in the real world all the time. Like, what power do these groups have, and how can bigger groups, larger groups, governmental groups take them away slowly? And I think it also has a lot to do with who can we see, who is vanished to us, who matters no more, who gets to disappear and we don't care, but also like what happens when we come back and we come together. I think it is incredibly timely, the discussion that is had on that show. And then there's just sort of the very small normal part of like Black people in science fiction. Like, that is something that I think I saw someone recently talking about how a lot of science fiction it's crazy that the plot of a lot of science fiction that we know and love is just basically that Black people and people of color don't exist in this world.
Yeah.
All these weird aliens and these weird creatures do, but like we don't. And I think that is shifting in media. People are really, all types of people from all sorts of identities are not only fighting for their representation, but holding media accountable for, you know, mirroring themselves back. And I think this show is doing a wonderful job of that.
Yeah, I mean, reminding me of the fact that I don't really think that journalism or media, as it used to be called, the fourth pillar of democracy. I don't think it is the fourth pillar of democracy in like nowadays.
Yeah.
Not because I'm from India, but yeah, I just know it.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, yeah, I just don't want to go to behind the prison. You know, I mean, I have reasons. Anyway, this part will be edited. I'll make sure.
I got you.
Okay, so tell us something about your auditions. How did that land up? And I think okay, before you answer, I think the show the co-producers are from Riverdale. Ariana is from the co-producers who was there on Riverdale. So how are the auditions? How was it working with them?
Yeah, the audition process was great. It was kind of like a really crazy whirlwind. I think
any hilarious incident from the audition that happened, or maybe from the set?
Yeah, the auditions were all online. We're just like this, you know. Sunil and Ariana were sitting where you were, and I was here on my computer, and we kind of did our best to form a human connection that way. I did get to meet the Jojo David Jones, who plays Jarrell. We did a chemistry read together, and that was really awesome. And on set, you're asking for one funny moment on set. They were all.
I'm so sorry. If I knew that there were so many, I would definitely given you a number.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Everyone in that. Can I please make it three now?
With you. Well,
just don't call me greedy. Just don't call me greedy.
No. You're fine. This is a great memory lane to walk down. Everyone in the cast is full of life. They all, like, we all just love our job and love each other and love that show so much. So we got to go to work and have fun literally every day. There was one time we were shooting like a really huge scene because we didn't get to shoot all together a lot at the beginning. It was, you know, very much piecing together person by person. Then we came together and we were all, you know, standing in this lobby and Jarrell and Keisha are giving some sort of announcement and all, like, a lot of 4400 are there. And the director's like, yeah, like, as they're talking, you know, you don't like this information, just like give some, not booze, but like, oh, you know, talk back to them a little bit. And there was one actor somewhere that was really giving it to us, like really just cussing us out somewhere off screen. And it was on, I think it was TL's coverage, who plays Dr. Andre, and watching TL masterfully keep it together while like this person was just giving us hell was amazing. Also, Brittany Adebumola, who plays Shanice, she took up the initiative to make a theme song for us, or like a song for the 4400 Wida Fofo, as it is called. So that song would pop up a lot and sort of give everyone.
Do you sing? Do you sing?
Do I sing?
Like I do in the bathroom.
Exactly. Sometimes I open my mouth and there is a note. I don't think anyone should pay me for it at the moment.
I just don't sing because I'm pretty sure others won't like it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a beautiful voice, first of all of us do. But we also know our strengths and our comfortability.
You can literally hear me right now and you're like, I'm sure you have a beautiful voice. And I'm like, okay. She can literally hear me right now and still she's like, you might. I'm not sure, but you might. Okay. I take that as a compliment still.
It takes belief.
I mean, yeah, okay. Okay, one more thing. Knives and Skin was one of your movies. Yeah, tell us something about that. It was a psychological thriller movie, right? It got delayed with the pandemic, if I'm not wrong.
No. It came out luckily before the pandemic. We got to write more. Yeah.
Okay.
Knives and Skin.
Or was it Candyman? I'm confused because
Candyman. I was.
Yeah, Candyman. Because I was confused about, like, because I knew that one of your movies got delayed due to the pandemic.
Yes.
So okay, coming back to the knives part. Yeah. Yeah.
Knives and Skin was a great movie. I really love sort of.
That was your debut, right?
psychological thriller. It was my sort of feature film debut. Jennifer Reeder wrote and directed it. I adore her as a filmmaker. She it's so fun and so weird and so like dissonant in a very intentional way. So I learned a lot on that set. I got to work, in Chicago and form relationships with a lot of people that I will continue to work with. I'm excited to be working with her in the future. And yeah, so that film was just a lot of fun. I remember hair and costumes. That was fun. And the subject matter of like a missing girl, small town, sort of Midwestern mythos was so much fun to jump into. Yeah, and I feel like, I feel so lucky for that team really having faith in me and taking a chance on lots of young talent in the city. Yeah, I'll treasure that movie for forever.
I like a few days back, I was interviewing Annie Chang. Annie Chang played, if you're not aware, I mean, if you are, then wonderful. Annie Chang was there in a few episodes of Grey's Anatomy. And right now she's there in Peacemaker by James Gunn. So, me being an Asian, she being an Asian, we like two Asians having heart-to-heart Asian talk. So, do you feel that there are still stereotypes regarding people of different color in the industry?
If there are still stereotypes?
Yeah. Like stereotypes or challenges, certain challenges that people might face.
Oh.
Because what basically we call in India nepotism. That it's a very famous term, which I think got famous 4 years back. Because someone tweeted about it. But I don't feel nepotism is necessarily bad if the child or the offspring has a talent. I mean,
is talented. Yeah, that's fair.
It's quite certain that someone who's born in a family whose parents are probably actors and artists, he already has that one leg inside the door we call cinema. I mean, he has contacts already, so it's not as difficult as for an outsider. So. My question is to you that do you still feel there are stereotypes or challenges that people of color face before landing a role, or it has really decreased over the years? Has it?
So as far as being in the film and TV industry, which I am a newcomer to, I'm not sure how much has changed over the years. I imagine just as everything, bits and pieces, but not nearly enough, right? But I do know in terms of my theatrical background and what I now know of the film and TV industry, there are absolutely challenges.
Your first audition, tell us about that.
My first TV film audition. There have been a couple, but I guess for Knives and Skin, I do remember there was singing because Jennifer was very particular and had these really awesome sequences in the movie of a young high school girls choir covering 80s pop songs. And so they had a component and then sing 16 bars. And I am not, I have a theatrical background. It's what I went to school for. I did all through high school even, and just growing up in the city. And never prided myself as a singer. I grew up in the church. My family is a church family. So I can sing in that way, in that, you get in the choir stands and they tell you to sing.
I went to a convent school.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the singing I was accustomed to. So they were sing, 16 bars. And I had to go to my musical theater friends and be like, what should I do? What's happening? What suits my voice? Because, I can do it, but I don't want to overshoot. So I do remember there was some singing involved. And I kind of dressed the part. I remember Charlotte, they described her as just kind of this badass. She's really cool and, low key and chill. So I must have worn a leather jacket or something. I really went for it. And I sang a Frank Ocean song. I sang Self-Control by Frank Ocean because it was low and I wouldn't have to hit any high notes.
It's so hard to imagine you like that, but okay, I'm believing you totally.
You throw on a leather jacket and everything, you're just hard.
That's so badass already. Just the thought of it. Anyway, let's talk about Candyman for a bit, yeah?
Yeah.
So, I think Candyman was, although it was delayed, I think twice or thrice, I think, right?
Yeah, a couple times.
Okay, that actually brings another question, just out of this, just a spin-off question, perhaps.
Love it.
How did COVID impact your industry, and how is it I think from 2020, now things are definitely starting to open up. And do you think that during that time, all these OTT platforms like Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu, they thrived on content? You think?
Hmm. Yeah, I think COVID, it made being on set a much more mindful practice, much more mindful day at work, and it really showed that everyone, A, has to in order to produce this content, but B, can come together to protect one another in order to keep this sort of industry moving, to keep your personal artistry moving, to protect the vision of the thing we all come together for. So, there were mask mandates, and I think I was tested more than a few times a week, and everyone was, just to make sure that when we're coming together and when we're going home, we're being safe. It really sort of, I think, streamlined, for me, the process. It made everything you're doing on set and every day you're going to work absolutely necessary and full of so much intention. And what it did on our set is really bring everyone together. We're a cast full of newcomers, and in many respects, many of us are. So it was really just about like, okay, how do we come together and support one another and make sure that we can, that everything can continue to happen, so our content can be the same, so that we have something to look forward to as a people, out in the world. We still have an escape to get to, but it meant that we had to be really safe and
Yeah, and also
safe.
I read a very interesting fact that will be soon, I think, published in Lindsay Klaus and Nadia Sanger's collection. Yeah, Living African Feminist Theory. Tell us something about that. Why don't you? I mean, it's so
Yes.
inspiring, first of all. It's so inspiring. And I'm so glad that I am sitting here talking to you. So inspiring. Tell us something about that.
Thank you. Wow, it's lovely that you brought that up. I've forgotten all about that. So the publication is not out yet.
I actually had it in mind that, why not? Like, let's have a conversation about that. Why the conversation should just stick to 4400 when there are more things we can probably talk and create awareness alongside promotions of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, writing, I think, was my first artistic passion, so I'm happy to talk about this. I actually had the opportunity to study abroad in Cape Town in South Africa a couple of years ago now, and I took a course in women and gender studies, and the professor was amazing, and one of her TAs was like the first trans man to have a medical transition that was funded by the government, and then open that up for the rest of for other members of the trans community. Yeah, so I was just really inspired being in that classroom and learning a lot about femicide in South Africa and gender-based violence, and just reconstructing what gender was in my head, in this completely different context, in this not American, not Chicago. Sorry about that. But it was nothing that I was used to, and so it really the environment.
I live in India. Okay, we had honking more than people. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I think your PR agent Saloni would Saloni, because Saloni sounds like an Indian name. I don't know why.
It's Hindu.
See, I think you would agree with what I'm saying. Anyway,
so we had to write, you're writing papers all through the class. And I think the essay that's ending up in the publication was one of my final, it was a paper I wrote for my final, and it was just about gender performance, because I realized like, oh, there are some ways that I perform my gender, and I dress a certain way to skew the image one day, and I to speak a certain way to skew the image another day, and I think leaning into masculinities and femininities doesn't mean you have to be boy or girl. I think that sort of like mind-bending space you can get into with gender is so interesting to me, and that book is really documenting just the many ways that gender exists in all of her students' minds.
Inspiring. So inspiring. Yeah, it's I think I'll wait for my cover of the book whenever it's released, because it's not very easy to find these books, because they're released very late, either in India or it's very difficult to find them. Like, only the popular ones are the ones which are easily available, sadly. But you can send me a copy if you want.
I got you, Vasu. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, you got my name right, by the way. Not many people do that. I mean, thank you.
Oh, awesome.
Gratitude. Okay, so one director that you would love to work with.
Ooh. One director that I would love to work with. Who am I watching right now? I always have, like, you're gonna have to like edit this. I always have the hardest time pulling out, like, when people are like, your favorite this, the one that. I'm like, there are tons. I would love to work with Ari Aster. I think he did like Hereditary and what's the other one that's just come out. He's just like a really, I think his movies leave you with the biggest question marks in the best ways. And that's very much something I'm a genre that I'm interested in getting into, like that psychological
When
thriller,
I ask
which
this
I'm
question to people, some say David Fincher, some say Nolan. I like your answer. I mean, it's kind of,
no, I mean, like all of those
kind of
directors
unique.
would be great too. Yeah,
No,
I like.
I'm just mentioning. I'm not saying they aren't great, of course, but I mean, I'm just saying that the answers usually I get from people I ask, it's quite monotonous, but it's almost the same. Yeah. So just like complimenting your choice of films.
No, Ari Aster is a weird man. I say that in the best way. Those movies are so weird and get you to ask yourself the weirdest questions, and that's like the art that excites me in the first place. So I would love to work on sets that are doing stuff like that.
Great. Okay, now that we're almost like running behind time. I mean, it's already half an hour since the video is going on, and I hope I'm not really making you late.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah.
Because Saloni is quite like sweet, by the way, because I have publicists who like drop a text in between. Hey, you're running out of time, and I'm like, okay, and then I forget my next question, and I'm like, oh shit, Vasu. Thank you, Saloni. Appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So coming back to it, 3 reasons why people should, or your fans rather, they should go for 4400.
Ooh, I'd say it has superpowers. It has chosen.
Let's make it 5 because you're doing it too easily.
No, I was like looking for the other 2. Hey, let's see if we can find 5. All right. It is representational. You have people of color, you have queer people, you have people of all sorts of walks of life, all types of faith,
so
all
much
sorts of
diversity. Yeah.
Yes, incredible diversity. It is, well, like I said, there are superpowers. You just can't skip over that. It exists in many, different times. It's 2021 in every episode, but you also get to go and jump back in time with someone and see how they live, and that's really awesome. It has tons of new faces that you just need to know now. And luckily I get to call them my friends, and like my coworkers and colleagues. You need to know these people and get to know their work. And the 5th, I almost made it, Vasu. I think the 5th would be,
I'm so glad I'm asking good questions. Yes.
Mystery. Yeah, you are. There's an incredible mystery. How could anyone forget? There's an incredible mystery that you are keyed into in the first episode, and who knows when you get the answer. So boom, there are the 5.
Okay. How do you like? Okay, 2020 was like kind of weird. Okay, like for some people it was bad. A lot of people died. A lot of people were home. Some people who were not used to be home were home. Like I personally feel I was working from home. Okay, it's the biggest scam in the history of mankind. Okay, I have reasons. Okay, because my manager thought I don't have a personal life. Although I don't, but it's not something that everyone should know. Come on. So yeah, most of the time I was working, so it was kind of weird, and it affects your mental health, right? And I mean, I know that you are sort of like a mental health advocate mental health, and you know how essential it is. So how did you keep yours in check during these times of COVID?
The question is, did I keep my mental health during that time of our world?
At least you didn't have a manager. Oh.
Yeah. In all honesty, I really think the lockdown and working from home, and I was also still in school, so like school then suddenly shifting to this weird online thing, however many hours just in front of your computer with a voice droning at you, and that also happening to everyone around me. Like it wasn't just me. I think that had an incredible, not even just an effect on my mental health, but it really, since it did get to such a, I could only sit with my mental, I could only sit with myself. I think it really keyed me into how to better take care of my mental health. And that those were things that I needed to be doing if I wanted to feel well, since I couldn't do all these other things that used to help me feel better, like go hang out, go to the movies, go have fun. Like, though that just kind of stopped for a while. And so you sit with your thoughts and you go, well, how do I continue to feel good as a person and make sure that I'm feeling well? And a big part of that was, of course, physical health, but definitely my mental health. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in that time.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah. And I got myself immediately into therapy, immediately talking to professionals, talking to
that's inspiring itself. Like, you're still working. I mean, wonderful. I'm at a loss of adjectives right now, but it's like quite inspiring, I would just say.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm happy to be.
I'm happy to be with you right now in this interview. Anyway, tell us something about your work for Jumpin' Jar. Jumpin' Jar, was it? Yeah, I think it was Jumpin' Jar.
The Jar.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Like, something on your philanthropic front.
Yes. So yeah, I think personally that like my purpose, and I don't want to put it on other people, they can think for themselves, but I do think people are here to connect in very meaningful ways and find meaning with one another. Like, no moment is just kind of given to us, or no moment just happens. They're truly given to us and we can do something with them. So I was living in Boston and encountered this nonprofit organization called The Jar, which is all about meaningful connection. And it was kind of amazing because just at like the peak of summer 2020, which is, pandemic land, but also like crazy, like Boston and big cities here where just Black Lives Matter was a huge, not only topic of discussion, but topic of action. There were actions and protests.
Of course. I was actually in a conversation with Brandon Kyle Goodman a couple of days back. So amazing person to talk to. And I mean, so sweet. I think yours and his interviews are the sweetest I've had until now. So yeah,
that is sweet. But yeah, I mean, if he brought that up, like, yeah, that was a time, and I'm sure we all remember. And the Jar was just the solution, always is, to any of those moments that pop up. But it is the solution as a space to bring people together that would not normally be together, to connect very meaningfully. So essentially, before we would do play readings, and afterwards there was like a very structured like talk back that got people talking to themselves, the audience talking to themselves, as opposed to just talking to the actors. I think that's a very safe thing to do. But when you have to, get really deep and personal with the person next to you that maybe you don't know, what could happen? And then the Guy Ben-Aron, who founded the company or the organization, just immediately shifted that online and asked me like, hey, in summer of 2020, I'll never forget, I'm sitting at home, the world is ablaze, and he just texts me and he goes, what do you think needs to happen right now? Like, if you had space at the Jar, like, what needs to happen? So I built a line of programming there, and just we continued to build our relationship until, we could do that together. We could bring people together and have them have meaningful conversations, not unlike the one we're having, but like, imagine like.
Yeah. No, I just thought that like, let's make this conversation a bit more than just films and cinema, because that is of course our first focus.
Right.
So yeah, I had more questions, but yeah, so I covered, I think, all of them. Okay, so all the best for 4400. And what are your upcoming projects before we leave? What's in store?
Oh yeah. I am looking forward to working with Jennifer Reeder again on her next project. Yeah.
Do you actually like the supernatural genre or something like that? I don't know.
You said, do I like it?
The sci-fi or the supernatural genre?
It's really interesting. I am getting more and more turned on to sci-fi. I think before I was definitely like, no thanks.
The choice of your projects.
I like the psychological though. I like the psychological, the thriller, the like thump, not the, we like horror too, but like the jump scares, those are easy. But when you get into people's minds, that's what I love. So who knows? Sci-fi, I'm learning, it's proving me wrong every day. I'm proven wrong every day of why I don't like it, but I really do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm
Okay.
talking about.
I think you've covered all the questions that was there in my mind. I would like to wish you for all the best for all your upcoming projects and the 4400. I hope India gets a CW app soon. I'm really hoping for that, and HBO Max and
Yeah.
more apps. And let's make it. Let's make cinema more global, because I'm so thankful that Netflix has taken that that step towards cinema now, that we can see French movies, we can see German cinema. Because before this, it was like quite a task for us to like
Hmm.
go and watch such movies, and
Yeah.
they create such wonderful movies, such beautiful art. So yeah, and you get to learn about so many new cultures, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, again, thank you so much for being with us on Animated Times, and also, thank you for not starting with the video with asking, "Hey, what's your age?" Because I've gotten that a lot.
Oh gosh. I would
And I'm
never.
like 25, and I'm like, "You're too young," and I'm like, "I don't know, maybe, yeah, okay."
No, youth is a superpower. We're on top. We're prime.
Okay, thank you so much for being with us, and yeah, I hope you
Yeah,
enjoyed the
thank you,
interview,
Vasu.
and I hope that I was a great host. Hopefully.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Vasu. It was so awesome speaking with you.